Thank you for listening. This is the Wyoming Photographic Podcast. All things photography from the state of Wyoming, featuring Wyoming-based photographers as well as photographers who travel from all over the world to photograph this wonderful state. I am your host, Jeff Futter, and we have an amazing show in store for you. Thank you for joining us today. We've got Taylor Ford McClure with us. Taylor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a photographer in Casper, Wyoming. I do all kinds of photography, my favorites being weddings and boudoir. The only type of photography I don't do is newborn, really. And this is my 4th year in business, which is crazy. I have an amazing husband and 2-year-old son, and we also have a corgi named Loki.
What are some of your favorite places to go to take photos?
Since most of my clients are in Casper, I stay around this area. I love to go up on the mountain around Bear Trap and a little bit behind there where you can see like the rolling hills and the mountains in the distance around golden hour. I also really like going out to Alcova and taking pictures against the super bright red mudstones and in the canyon against the water. The cool thing about this area is there isn't really a shortage of cool spots you can find around Wyoming. A lot of my seniors like to do pictures along the river, and it's really cool, especially right now with the yellow fall leaves and all of the fall colors.
Definitely is. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Where does your inspiration come from?
I find inspiration in a lot of different things. There's a lot of photographers in Casper that I really like. I really like Kari Faye and her super unique and different style that she has. I also really like Haley Ray photography. She just recently did my wedding and she does a lot of my family pictures and stuff like that. And my favorite wedding photographer is actually Liz Osbin out of Colorado. Her work is just super timeless and beautiful, and I love seeing all of her pictures. And I would say like different photographers around here really inspire me.
What is the most important lesson you've learned over your photography career?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that if you really love something, you just got to keep trying and keep doing it, regardless of if you feel like you're not good enough or like not good as other people in your area. Because when I was just starting out, I kind of went into photography with this like blind confidence. But I loved it so much that I just kept at it and kept growing as a photographer. And I think right now I'm at a really good spot where I am actually confident in my art and in my style, and that I can kind of get a good picture in any situation.
What is something that you didn't expect from the photo industry before you started that surprised you?
Just how saturated it is. Like I always knew there was a lot of photographers, but once you get into it, everyone has a cousin who's a photographer or an uncle, or there's obviously different kinds of photography, so there's space for everyone, but I just didn't realize how common it was.
So what are some of your biggest concerns and fears prior to a photo session, and how do you mitigate them?
I would say my biggest fear is that I'm not going to mesh well with my client when it comes to taking their pictures. Like they're not going to react to the prompts that I'm giving them, or they're not going to like the things I'm asking them to do, which I guess has kind of happened, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. You just kind of have to adapt to their personality, and I've made it work when that happens. But I would say my biggest fear is not getting good images out because of the lack of connection with my client.
What social media platforms do you typically prefer?
I mostly use Facebook and Instagram right now. Instagram is kind of becoming more of a video type site, kind of like TikTok, where it's like short videos get pushed the most in the algorithm. So it's kind of hard right now I'm gonna have to adapt to that. And I'm not very good at doing the short video kind of content, but on Facebook I do really well, and that's where I get most of my clientele is through my Facebook page and my website and using ads and client referrals.
Now, what has been your favorite and your least favorite photo job so far?
Ooh, that's hard. So I would say that my least favorite is I've just found that I don't like taking pictures of newborns, which has nothing I love newborns. It's just I have too much anxiety about handling a newborn and making sure they're like comfortable. And I know those are really special images. And if they're not for me, I don't want to like push myself to do it because they're not going to be what I'm passionate about. But I would say my favorite pictures are weddings and like creative photo shoots I get to do, and also boudoir. Um, like recently in August, I did my annual Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women photo shoot, which is to raise awareness for them. And that is always something that I'm really proud of. And this year, I feel like the images were just really beautiful and powerful. And I think that's my favorite photo shoot that I've done so far.
So what's your favorite picture that you've taken?
So I have a lot of pictures that are personal to me that are just near and dear to my heart. Like I took my own pictures when I had my son in the hospital. So all of those pictures with him and my family and him as a fresh baby, those are really special to me. And I also have a lot of pictures of my grandpa before he died that are just really special to have. But I would say when it comes to clients, my favorite pictures, I have some wedding pictures that are really special. I have one that is a black and white of a bride getting her dress put on by her mom, like her mom's helping her strap it up in the back, and her two daughters are looking up at her, like kind of sitting on top of her wedding gown. And that's one of my favorite pictures. And I have another one where a bride went to visit her grandma in the hospital right after her wedding. So she's in her wedding dress, and it's kind of a silhouette of her sitting on the hospital bed with her grandma. And I just love that picture so much. And I mean, there's a ton, but I would say that those are my two favorite pictures right now.
What is your favorite camera brand?
Well, so I use Canon, and I've always used Canon, so I can't really say why or why not. It would be my favorite, but that is what I use. And as far as like talking to other photographers, it seems like that's the general census that Canons are really good cameras.
And among all the photo gear you've purchased, is there something you wish you never bought?
That's an interesting question. So I did get one camera when I was first starting out, and I can't remember what it was. But I didn't know a lot about cameras. So I thought it was going to be this, since it was expensive, I thought it was going to be this super nice, like, camera with a touch screen and like the R6 that I have now. But it was this just super old camera with this tiny screen. I had no idea how to work it, didn't know what I was doing. But it actually did help me out because I had to learn to work with a camera with its settings and not just rely on like looking through the touch screen, and I had to like actually work with it. So that actually ended up helping me a lot. So I wouldn't say that I wish I never bought it, but it was like not what I wanted.
Do you have any advice for aspiring photographers out there?
Yeah, so I would say if you want to be a photographer, your first year, you should really start by taking pictures of family and friends. And I would say don't start charging for pictures until you feel like you would be happy getting those pictures back of you, like with those edits and that type of composition and stuff. But if you're just doing it as a hobby, like you just like really you love taking pictures of landscapes or, night like star pictures, stuff like that, that's not as hard to get into, like as finding clientele and stuff like that. So I would say if you're starting out and you want to be like a wedding photographer or someone who has clients, you should do it for free for a while until you really learn like the aperture, ISO, shutter, all of that in a camera so that you're confident when you're taking pictures that you can work with the lighting and when you know composition and stuff like that is when you should start actually having clients pay for your work.
How do you convey mood in your photos? Is there any special settings that you use, or special compositions that you use, or special lighting techniques that you use to convey the mood and bring that out?
Uh, yeah, so it kind of depends on the situation because that kind of stuff kind of just happens in the moment. Like when I see super cool lighting or like a special moment happens that I capture. A lot of it has to do with editing because obviously that can completely change a picture. Black and whites are really awesome to use when you want to convey like the drama in a picture or the emotion in a picture. I personally add a green tint to my black and white pictures just for personal style, and I think it's kind of unique. Um, but also, yeah, composition plays a huge part in that too. Um, and you have to be aware of like, wait, like for example, with a couple, the composition is going to make the picture completely different if you have this wide picture of just a couple small against this huge like rolling hills backdrop. Whereas if you're like really zoomed in on them and you just have like the silhouette of them kissing, it's going to make two completely different moods. But I think all of those are important to have in a gallery for like engagement pictures and stuff like that. So it happens in the moment, but I am aware of what I'm trying to capture.
So what kind of tools do you use for post-processing? What does your workflow for that typically look like?
So I use Lightroom. I try to get the pictures as close to what I want them to look like as possible in camera, but I do obviously add my own touches in Lightroom, and depending on if there's a bunch of stray hairs or things I need to take out of the picture, I'll take it into Photoshop. Um, Sometimes I also add like specks of dust in Photoshop because I think it adds to the lighting situation. I also sometimes add different skies to pictures to make them more dramatic. But so usually I call the pictures, I take them into Lightroom, and I use my presets that I made myself on all the pictures, make sure they all look cohesive and consistent. And then depending on the picture, I'll take it into Photoshop if it needs further editing, or like with family pictures, if someone is blinking in one picture but everyone else looks great, I'll take another picture and take their face off of that and put it into the family picture so that there's not just that one person that's blinking or sneezing, you know. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my process.
What do you think the photography industry will look like in 5 years?
That is a hard question. I think with AI, it'll be different. I'm hoping not that different. I think that people are using AI for headshots and stuff like that now, but it still looks really fake and not like you can tell there's something off about it when people use AI for that kind of stuff. So hopefully it will still be real people taking real pictures. I'm sure it will be, but I hope that people realize that it's important to get pictures of you as you are instead of your likeness, if that makes sense. And I hope that's still the case in 5 years, where it's still real people taking real pictures.
And how did you get so good at photography?
Um, well, so obviously when you start out, it's a huge like learning curve. No one's gonna be perfect when they start. a lot of the times, especially with me, I just thought the more saturation and the more sharpness you put to an image will make it look better. But that is not the case. I really had to learn through mistakes that I've made, and I had to learn through my friends that are photographers, and it's taken a while. I've had my business for 4 years now, but 3 if you don't include COVID, because I didn't really take pictures during COVID. But it's been a long time figuring out my own personal style, and I didn't go to college for photography, and I never took any classes for it or anything. I kind of fell into it. So I'm completely self-taught, so it has been a huge learning process. And I obviously still have a lot of growth and work to do, but I think where I'm at is really good. And I, for the most part, when a client is happy, I'm happy. So if they love their images, I'm over the moon that they do, and that's the most important part to me.
Is there any aspect of photography that you and most of your peers disagree about?
So when I first started out, I was told that if you take money for pictures, you're a professional photographer, which I do, I guess maybe technically true, but I don't think people realize the amount of work and money it takes to be what I would say is a professional photographer. Which I guess I'm talking out of my type of photography, which is like wedding photography. Obviously, you could be a nature photographer and not need to have the things you need for wedding photography, but there's so many things that go into it that people don't think about. Like you need 2 cameras at least so that you have a backup camera, and they both need to have dual card slots. You need to have a hard drive, which is a lot of money. You need to have a computer. You need to have insurance so that you can take pictures at certain venues. And just in case anything happens to your camera, you need to have an actual business through your state. And through that, you have to have a bunch of other things just so you can have a business. So there's like a lot of things that I feel you need to have in order to call yourself a professional photographer, or be one in my eyes. Whereas I think some of my peers wouldn't agree with that.
Other than your amazing work, why do you think people choose you as their photographer?
I think that, well, I hope that the clients that refer other people have good things to say about me. I hope that people feel comfortable with me. And I have been told that they do. So I believe that's part of it, is just how personable I am and how receptive I am to what other people want in their pictures. And I do have my repeat clients to thank for that, because a lot of the clients that come back to me again and again and again refer other people, and that has helped me immensely grow my business, because then those people refer other people and so on. In particular, I have this client named Morgan. Shout out to Morgan. And she is amazing. She comes back to me for family pictures, couple pictures, boudoir pictures, and I got to take headshots for her workplace. And so then her coworkers also know about me, and her bosses and all the people that go to that business that follow their Instagram and stuff like that then know about me. So I think people come back to me because they trust the people that are referring them to me, and they can see clearly if my work is for them or not.
How do you prefer seeing your images displayed, whether it be prints, metal, canvas, just online, or something else?
I love it when clients use the pictures I've taken of them as like their profile picture, or things like that, because it tells me that they really love how they look and they want everyone to see it. For boudoir photography, I think that when clients get albums I think that's the best way to display their pictures, especially if they're for a partner, because I think it's just super cool to have the physical pictures instead of just looking at them on your phone. And I'll always love clients that get, giant family pictures hung up on their wall. I think it's such an honor to like have my work in someone's home.
Absolutely. Do you prefer any of your images in black and white?
Some of them. So like I talked about with my favorite pictures, the two that I talked about with the brides, they're both in black and white. And I think it just makes pictures so dramatic and really like it shows the clients in a way that color pictures can sometimes distract from. Whereas with black and white, you're really focused on the subject. And so, yeah, I think some pictures are better in black and white because it conveys the emotion better, especially like detail shots, I think are awesome in black and white. But I think throughout photography, you develop an eye for that kind of thing, like when pictures should be in black and white and when they're just better in color.
Now, you said earlier you're mostly self-taught. Are there any books or other media that you'd recommend to someone starting in photography?
So I really recommend doing online classes if you can, if you have the money to. But I mostly have watched YouTube photographers and learned from them. And I've also had a lot of friends that are photographers. So I've been lucky to learn from them personally and be able to go on shoots with really amazing photographers down in Colorado who have really mastered their craft. So I was really lucky to start out with really amazing people around me and learn from them.
What process do you use for booking clients?
So right now I usually get bookings through either Facebook or my website. I've made it super simple on my website. They just fill out their name and the type of session they're wanting, and then I get back to them through email as fast as I can. October has been super crazy and super busy. So I'm like completely booked out through October and some of November. But right now, clients usually message me through Facebook or my website. And then from there, we find a date that works for both of us. And then after we schedule a date and a time, I go through HoneyBook, which I use for my contracts, my questionnaires. They pay their invoices through that. So HoneyBook is also a really great tool, which has helped me a lot staying organized and staying on track with all of my clients.
Where could clients go to find your work?
So my Instagram and Facebook are both Taylor Ford Photography, and I have a Facebook page for women only called Boudoir by Ford, if they're interested in boudoir. And then I also have a website, taylorfordphotography.com.
And Taylor, were there any topics today that we didn't discuss that you'd like to elaborate on at all?
No, not really. I think I just want to reiterate that if you are starting out in photography, or even if you're a few years into photography, to just not give up, and that if you really love it, it's worth pursuing and keeping at it, and you'll get better as you go.
Yes, for sure. And Taylor, thank you very much for being on today.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on here.
This has been the Wyoming Photographic Podcast, all things photography in the state of Wyoming. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.